Welcome to another Tuesday night practice session. With any luck, we'll get it right this time since we recorded this once earlier today and I forgot to turn on the mics. So we'll try to remember all of the great jokes and do our best with all of the insightful instruction, and we'll take it from here. So let's start with a form. We'll do the whole thing. Head top suspended, feet on the ground, everything in between, spacious, open, relaxed. And go ahead. Okay, great. So we're going to work on the kicks for this class and the next couple classes. We're trying to do a mix as we go through this of the technical detail you need in order to learn the form in the first place in order to get the choreography. And then the next level of information, the next level of detail that are the things that you can work on if you've already learned the moves to actually give them more, to get them deeper, to get them more internal. So we'll spend this week, next week, something like that, working our way through the kicks, and we're going to go posture by posture and try to get that stuff. So this will be good reference. It's also food for your practice, because that's what we really care about, is getting you all able to practice at a deeper level, more refined in what you're doing. And as you work through those, you're going to find things that, with any luck, are those aha moments that then percolate through the rest of your form. So that's what we're aiming for, and we're going to work on that in the kicks here. And so let's start with single whip. So take single whip facing the direction you're going to be doing the form in, and really get a good single whip. So I'm going to face the camera so I can talk through this stuff. But really make sure that you've got your stance right. So you've got the front foot pointed exactly straight ahead. You've got the rear foot out between 45 and 30 degrees. So you get that right. The waist is square to the front. That'll mean that the front quad is creased and the back is flat. If the front is flat at all, then you haven't actually gotten yourself all the way around. And really be demanding on yourself. Check that you're really to the front. It's easy to be almost to the front, but not all the way there. And then we'll bring the arms up one at a time. Bring the left arm up, and then just let it fall back down. And bring it up, and let it fall back down. And by doing this, you're not holding at all. You're letting the arm move through its full range of motion to get to that position, but you're not letting it bind at all. And then this time, catch it. What you want is that the middle segment of the middle finger lines up with the top of the shoulder. The wrist is directly in front of the shoulder, and the elbow dangles, so it's hanging there. A common mistake is for the hand to be out at the side. So get it right in front of the shoulder. And then bring your other arm up and let it go down. And bring it up and let it go down. You're doing the same thing. You're moving through the whole range that you need to do in order to get to the place, but you're not holding it all. And then one of these times, catch it and let it be there. Check your hook hand. Make sure that all 5 fingers are touching each other, are touching the thumb. So the 4 proper fingers touch the thumb. It's easy for the fingers to come together, but not actually touch the thumb. See how my pinky and my ring finger are not touching the thumb. Bring them all in there so they're all touching it. And then the arm hangs. So, back into single whip. Get yourself a good single whip. Front foot is exactly straight. The thigh is pointed exactly the same way. If you don't have the width right, if you're too wide, then you'll be able to see that the thigh is pointed out at an angle. So go ahead and get it right back here so you're really square. And then holding this posture, go ahead and get your arms in the right place. And relax. The rear crown of the head is as if suspended. The chest hangs. As the chest hangs, the back will fill. Contain the chest, raise the back. Feel your feet on the ground, the tripod on each foot. And when you want to stand up, let yourself sit down a little bit further. So you're relaxing into the posture. A little bit longer. Let go, sinking down. Okay, take a break. Yeah, working on the kicks is great because it means working on single whip. And We were told that Professor Chung said single whip was the most auspicious posture to hold. So we're not going to go wrong by actually focusing on it. And there's 5 single whips in the form. It's the posture that's repeated most often. So, it really is important, so getting it there. So let's look at squatting down. If you haven't learned this, we'll work through it over and over the next 40 minutes. So you'll have a chance to pick it up. But let me real quickly review the pieces. So from single whip, I turn my waist, the rear foot on the heel, the front hand turns over. So see how the front hand is turning? This is really, really just undoing the last bit of going into the posture. You don't need to shift any more weight forward. A lot of times people think that in order to turn that back foot out, they have to get all the weight forward and then turn. And if you watched when I did that, you'll see that it's actually different than what we do in the form. That when I did that, and I brought all my weight forward, that's bringing the rear foot up onto the toe so that I could go into a different posture, so I could move the foot. From here, I got into the 70-30, turning on the heel. I can come out of the 70-30, turning on the heel. So this just happens. Then shift into the right leg, turn your waist so that it's actually pointed exactly to the same direction as the right leg, and bring the left hand in. It drops. The pinky side is perpendicular to your body, and it comes in right at the qua. The hook hand, more or less, stays in the same place in space. So see, it moved a little bit, but I'm not doing this, taking the hook hand all the way over somewhere else. So as you do this and you turn into it, you're going to turn towards it. This posture here is a 70-30. 70% waist square to the front, rear foot is turned on the heel. Remember to turn the rear foot in. Sometimes people leave that behind. Okay, so I'm going to do this again. I turn, rear foot, front hand. I shift and turn, front hand drops into the groin. Now I elongate. When I elongate, the body is getting longer. That's why it's called elongate. I'm not e-short-gating and going down and getting smaller. So I'm not trying to bend over here. What I'm doing is I'm letting an extension happen from the rear leg all the way through the body to the top of the head as I do this. So that should be a straight line more or less, as opposed to this where I'm crunching down, not a straight line. So turn rear foot on heel, turn the front hand over, shift and turn, elongate. And now I turn, my whole body turns, the head turns, the shoulders turn, solar plexus area turns, the stomach turns, the hips turn, and then the left hand and the left foot turn out. So you get this kind of a thing. I elongate, I come across, I sit down to put the front foot on the ground. This is the bottom, and now I come up into the corner. So let's do that. Single whip. Turn, rear foot on heel, front hand turns over. Shift and turn the rest of the way. Make sure your right foot is pointed right to the wall. We'll talk about this more in a second. Elongate. Spiral through the body, head turns, shoulder turns, chest turns, waist turns, hand and foot turn. Sit down, put the foot on the ground. Come up to the corner, last minute, release the rear hand, rear foot pivots on the heel. Great. Again. Single whip. Turn. Shift and turn. Elongate. Spiral through the body. Sit down and come up. Last minute, release the right side. Once more. Begin, turn the rear foot out and turn the front hand. Shift and turn, stop here like a 70-30. So you're comfortable. If this was the first third, we would make this a final posture. Now elongate, shifting your weight into the front leg, right leg. Turn, spiral through the body. Everything opens. Sit down to put the front foot on the ground. Come up into the corner. Last minute, release the right side. Okay, squatting down. So there's a couple things I want to bring to your attention and get you being real careful about as we're doing this. And the first one is where you turn the right foot to. So I'm going to face this way so you can see. When I turn my right foot, I want to get it pointed exactly towards the wall, and then I come into it. And what this does is it lets me, when I'm elongating, let my thigh move right along the path of that foot. Sometimes people will turn their foot farther. See how my foot's past the wall. And the thing that happens then is as I go down, my knee is going to fall in like this. And this may get you lower the first year or so that you do it, but then it'll leave you with hurting knees. So be really careful that this points right exactly this way. And then the other thing that happens to the knee is when I do the turning here, my knee actually goes farther that way. So let me do it so you can see that knee. I come through to here, I elongate, and now watch my right knee. As I turn, my right knee is continuing to move forward. It's continuing to move forward. I really want to make sure the right knee isn't brought with me. I can't really do that, because if I do that many times, it'll hurt my knee. So I'm not going to. But when I come through here, I elongate. As I turn, the knee goes that way, and I open my quad and move away from it, as opposed to keeping this right quad engaged and turning, and it'll bring the knee with me. So if you're having any knee pain in this move, be assiduous about those places. Make sure it's really going along that direction of the toes, really pointed straight ahead with the toes, and watch that when you turn, you don't let it come with you. Our teacher Bataan used to, everybody puts squatting down on the front covers of their books, or gives it a splashy place someplace, because it looks so good, right? It looks really kick-ass. There you are, you're down, you're doing martial arts now. And so our teacher Bataan collected, he had a book that he'd collected everybody's pictures of squatting single whip. And it was instructive and horrifying, because it's a place where the desire to get the externals takes you away from actually doing the move right. And so as we would page through this book with all these images of people, you would see people making just terrible mistakes in order to get down. And we worked a couple years ago a little bit with a guy who came and studied with us for a little while, who had done another style. And he was very attached to the big externals. And man, he had a killer squatting single whip. He's going to have knee problems in a couple years. But, he could get down like, there's no tomorrow. He'd be down, 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 down. Except he wasn't down like this. He was down like one of these ways. So really, and hopefully the time that he spent with us, we helped him see some of those alignments, and he's changed, and he's getting all the pieces put together there. But it's a place where you can feel really proud, and you can push too far. So beware of that, and make sure you keep these alignments. And we often in class will pull out pictures of Professor Chung doing squatting single whip in Taiwan in the 40s or 50s, and then pictures of Professor Chung doing squatting single whip probably in New York in the 60s, so 20-year span between the two of them. And he looks great in both of them, and his butt is probably a foot closer down to the ground in the 20 years. So, he made sure he was doing it right all along, and he let time take him down farther. So don't worry about how far down you go. If you do your squatting single whip and it's like this, that's great. If you do your squatting single whip and it's like this, I was closer to the ground. So really be careful with those things. So let's do it again, and I want you to really pay attention to this alignment of the right knee while we're doing it. So start out in single whip, and make sure your left knee is pointed right exactly front. Don't let it be angled at all, particularly the left thigh. Comes out of the hip and goes straight. Doesn't come out of the hip and go off to another direction. Comes out of the hip and goes straight. So single whip. Turn, rear foot on heel, front hand turns over. Shift and turn, bring the pinky side of the left hand into the left quad, perpendicular to the body. This is a 70-30. Elongate, so you feel like you're getting longer from the rear heel all the way up to the top of your head. Make sure the right knee is pointed exactly at the wall here. Exactly at the wall. If you turned your foot too far, bring it back. If your knee's starting to fall in at all, bring it back. Get it right to the wall. And now turn into the final posture, opening. Feel the right quad open, 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 open. And now take a look at your right knee. Is it still pointing to the wall or did it fall in at all? Sit down, put the foot on the ground. Come up, release. Again, paying attention to the direction of the thighs. Squatting single whip, right square to the front. Left knee pointed right in front of you. Turn, rear foot on heel. Shift and turn, stop in the 70-30. Check your right foot. Make sure it's really pointed right to the wall and that your right thigh is pointed right to the wall. Elongate and check your right knee. Make sure it's right in a line with the foot. Open. Check your right knee. Make sure you didn't bring it with you. The right quad had to open. Sit down, foot on the ground, come up. Last minute release. Great. Okay, so sometimes we'll spend a bunch of time in 70-30s telling you to make sure not to let the front knee go past the toes. So where you want to be in a 70-30 is I want that the front knee will drop right straight down and it comes directly into the part where my toes come out of the sole of the foot. So I'm right here. You see my calf. Let me do it on the other side. You see my calf is actually angled slightly forward. The calf isn't perfectly vertical. Calf is angled slightly forward. But if you dropped a plumb line from my knee, it would drop here to where my toes come out of the sole. And I've got from there to where the plumb line would hit the front of the toes. So I've got that much play. That's where I want to be. Calf is angled slightly. Calf isn't vertical. Calf is angled slightly, but I don't let the knees get beyond the toes. And this really matters for the front leg of a 70-30 because it's mechanical. It makes me a lot stronger. So if I'm standing here in a 70-30 that's right, and I put my arm out, Beth can haul away at this all she wants. And I'm not going anywhere. I mean, sure, at some point she could probably overpower me, but I'm just not going anywhere. Now, I make the slightest change, and I bring my knee past the toe, and she can just move me. So in class, I would do this with you and have you feel me, feel grabbing me, and feel how solid I am, and feel how little effort it takes to move me once I break that mechanics. Here, you'll just have to look at it, and then you can have somebody come, play with you. If you've got somebody in your quarantine team who you can do this with, then do. But really, watch. Look, here, and so she can, haul away, haul away, haul away, haul away. And she's actually pulling pretty hard. Now she lets go, and I mess up my stance. I moved it just a little bit, and she doesn't have to do anything. She can just move me. So mechanically, you got to get that shape right on the front leg of a 70-30. That is only true for the front leg of a 70-30. In particular, if I'm looking at my back leg in 100% posture, if I'm in white crane, standing here, will you do the plumb line thing? Standing here, my knee is actually slightly behind my toes, right? That's because I didn't sit down very far. If I sit down further, then the knee is absolutely in front of the toe. And that's just the way it works. Stand up high, knee will be behind the toes. Sit down low, knee will be in front of the toes. Any of these 100% postures. So the knee will go past the toes, but never on the front leg of a 70-30. So when I'm doing squatting down, and I come here and I turn, and I get to here, the 70-30, my knee should be dropping right to where the toes come out of the sole of the foot. When I, let me do it this way so you can see the knee's extension. Here, the knee drops, plumb line, toes. When I extend, the knee is absolutely going to go past the toes. right? So you don't have to try to hold back. You don't have to try to figure out how do you get down here without moving that knee. Go ahead and let it go past the toes, but make sure it's in a line with the toes. So let's do it again, and then I'll introduce one more idea, and then I'll turn it over to Beth, who will do some more work. Okay, single whip, good 70-30, front thigh pointed right straight ahead, front knee drops down plumb line to where the toes come out of the foot. Getting the arms up relaxedly, swing them and catch them. Turn, rear foot pivots on heel, front hand turns over. Shift and turn, left hand drops into your left quad. This is a 70-30. Stop and check it out. How's your right leg doing? Is the right foot pointed right straight towards the wall? Is the right thigh pointed exactly the same direction as the foot? And here, the knee should be not past the toes. Elongate, making sure the waist stays towards the wall. Don't start to turn yet. Then turn. Let everything come to the final posture, and check out your right thigh. Is it still pointed towards the wall, or did it come with you? Sit down, foot goes on the ground. Come up, release. Okay, so that's one of the really key things I want to work on is the preservation of the knees. And the second thing is, how do you get into that final posture? So the final posture of squatting down is after you've squatted down. It's right here. It's 100% posture. My left leg is straight. One of the things that people in the book do to try to get down lower is they bend both of their legs. And, apart from my pants, I can go all the way down here. Just about anybody can. Your legs are separate. So that's not very impressive. The thing you got to do is keep that front leg straight. So you turn, front leg is straight, 100%. You can pick that foot up, and then this is getting ready to do the next move. So how does that turn work? And this is a place that's a little bit not obvious to people, because we get here, and I want to just turn. And so I turn everything. And you see how everything's moving together? I'm just doing it all together. That's like opening a door. When I open a door, I open the door, and the whole door opens. And then I close the door, and the whole door closes. So the door is moving as a whole. It's not the case that the top part of the door starts to open, and then the middle part of the door starts to open, and then the bottom part of the door starts to open. So if you had something vertical, and you were turning the vertical thing, it would all turn together. That's not what we do in squatting single whip. In squatting single whip, there's a motion, a wave, a spiral that goes through the body. And so you'll start turning from the head first, and the foot and the hand on the left side will be the very last thing to turn. So watch. I elongate. My waist is still facing this way. It's still facing to the right. A lot of times when people go down, they'll start opening the waist already. So don't do that. Keep the waist facing the same way. And now turn the head and feel what that does to your neck and shoulders. Allow the neck and shoulders to turn. Turn the top of the chest. Feel what that does to the middle of the chest. Allow the middle of the chest to turn. Turn more. Feel what that does to the hips. And now let it all play out into the turn down in the hand and foot. So watch me again. I won't do it quite as slowly, but watch how it's not the case that everything turns together like opening the door. What happens is I turn, and that turn ripples through the body. So I'm here, I elongate, I turn, and the turn ripples through the body. The hand and the foot is the very end. So they don't move together with the face. They move at the end. And so this is important for a number of reasons. One of them is that what we want to do in Tai Chi is we're trying to create conditions where when we let go, something happens. As opposed to, that's how we make things happen. We set a condition up, and then we let go, and it changes. Like play guitar, you've created the stretched condition, you let go, it just comes into play guitar. So the work in play guitar is here, and then you just let go, it goes there. As opposed to doing, where your focus is on this part of play guitar, right? I get it open, I let go. Versus, somehow my hands are here, and now it starts, and I do this. So in Tai Chi, we're always setting things up where then you can let go and have something change. And so when you do that, you're going to have little bits of, we call it tautness, to distinguish from muscular tension. You're going to create little bits of tautness in the body that when you let go, change happens. And so you have to become really aware of those, because we're not trying to be, overwrought and worked. We're not, trying to have some whole thing happening in our forms while we're doing this, because that builds tension. So you've got to be careful about this, that the slightest amount of tautness is something that then you can release and affect movement. And so I'm getting that in squatting single whip. As I come through here, and I've elongated, I start turning my head, and as soon as I do that, I feel that my neck wants to turn, and then I feel that my shoulders want to turn, and then I feel that the ribs and the torso are wanting to turn, and then I feel that, and now it's down here in the hips, and when I release it in the hips, then the last bit comes out. So there's a wave, a spiral that runs through the body and ends up playing out into the hands and foot. And so this will take some time to work on, but look for it because you know it's there. You know you want to be working on it. So let's do squatting single whip another 3 times. And as we do these 3 times, pay attention to these 3 things that you start out with a good 70-30. Oops. A good 70-30. Keep it in there. That when you get to the elongation point, then right leg goes right along the direction of the toe rather than falling in. And then when you do squatting single whip, that you get this playing out through the body, the spiral through the body. So 3 times, I'll talk some, but really work on the move. So, single whip. Left thigh. Go ahead. Rear foot turns, shift the weight, check the right thigh. Elongate, check the right thigh. Spiral, head moves, shoulders move, chest moves, ribs move, hip moves, hand and foot moves. Continue up into the corner. Again, single whip. Go ahead, pay attention. Right leg and thigh. Elongate, spiral through the body. Sit down, foot on the ground, come up, release. Once more. 70-30, check your front leg. Make sure it's really right towards the wall. Arms come up. Turn rear foot on heel, front hand turns over. Shift and turn, a 70-30. Stop, check your right leg. Is it really pointed right square? If it's not, fix it. Elongate, feel like your body got longer. Check your right thigh, still pointed the way you want it to. Okay, now do the spiral. From the head, neck, shoulders, chest, ribs, waist, hands and foot. Check your right knee, still pointed where it was, didn't come with you. Sit down, right foot on the ground, come up, release. Great. So, we'll do some more in a second as I magically become Beth.
All right, let's do some more. So, squatting down, and I'm going to pick it up after we've gone to the final posture, which is on your right leg with the left leg empty, and then look at how we come out of it and move on to golden pheasant standing on one leg. So let's run through it here another time. You know what to do, all the stuff that Lee's talked about. Get your arm in a comfortable place right in front of your shoulder. Other arm is relaxed. 4 fingers touch the thumb. And begin. Right foot turns. Left foot follows. Elongate and spiral through the body out to the leg. This is the final posture. This is where you need to be 100%. Now, you're going to go a little further into your full leg to put the front foot on the ground, and now come up out of it. So we talk a lot about how you give into the leg that you're standing on to start the motion underground and come up the other leg rather than pushing off the back leg to get into the front leg. Well, this is a place where, Lee talked about how people try to get lower by doing all sorts of things that being lower doesn't really matter, especially if what you're going to do is mess things up to get lower. So one of the things that people will often do is this. Once they get to the final posture, then they go lower. Because, once I shift into this leg, sure, I can go lower too. But that's not what's happening. You hit your bottom here, and then there's just maybe a slight drop further because I go into, notice that this foot, this empty foot is on the heel. I go a little further into this leg, start this knee bending and to put this foot on the ground, but now I'm completely coming up out of that foot. I'm not using the left leg to get me lower to the ground. At that point, that's already as low as I'm going. So, let's do it again. And begin. Elongate and spiral. Now, give in a little bit more into your right leg. That puts the left foot on the ground, starts the knee bending, and you're going to come up with the fingertips leading as you shift into the this transitional place here. This is not a final posture, even though we're stopping here now. So that giving in is just enough to put that foot on the ground, and then everything's coming up out of it. Watch how the hand moves. I said you want to lead with the fingertips. I'm going to face you so you see what I'm talking about. And at this point now, I'm going to think fingertips. And that sends my arm out that way. This is the position that Maggie called yearning. So it's got this sending it out kind of quality. As opposed to doing this, where the energy's coming this way, and as I come up, my arm is short, and it's come in toward me. So, I'm not yearning back into myself, I'm yearning out into space. And the other thing about that is that you don't want that arm to take you away. So, right away, fingertips, fingertips, fingertips. And it's sending it out. And when I get to about this place, I'm being stretched in two. I'm going in two different directions. So at this point, I release the right side and let it send the rest of the energy out. That's part of making sure that your arm is going out, not pulling back, because if it's pulled back, then there's nothing to release. This is another one of those places that Lee was talking about where you create a condition that when you let go, something can happen. So it's small, I'm not doing it, but watch how the hand and arm change at the very end of the release. right about here. Now watch this side. When I let this one go, there's a little, it's subtle, but it enables the energy to keep going out. So let's try doing that together. And we're going to do it both ways. First, we'll do it the right way. So good 70-30, you know what to do. And begin. Elongate, spiral. Foot's resting on the heel, give in, that puts it on the ground. Now fingertips, 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 fingertips. You're leading out, and then release the right side to let that out a little bit more. And now let's do it the other way so you feel the difference. Yeah, the way that shortens your arm. It's not yearning, it's banging yourself in the forehead. Okay. Turn, elongate, spiral. Sink and let it come up thumb side and get short. Feel that difference. One more time, the short arm way. And go. Coming up, it's rising toward you, and then when you let go of the other side, it doesn't really go anywhere because it's already lost its action. It's come into you. So let's do it the yearning way. And go. Spiral. Sit down, foot goes on the ground. Fingertips, 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 and release the right side and feel how it sends it further out. And let's do it again that way to get that feeling. Go. Fingertips. Out into the fingertips, and then release the right side, and it expands out the left arm. Two little details about this. One is that when you release the right side, let the right foot pivot with you. It will help keep you from feeling like you're being split apart. And you don't want to do this to the point where you actually feel split apart. Just before you split apart is when you release it, so that you keep it going and you don't get into an untenable situation. The other is where this arm yearns to. So it's just going to go, it's not much higher than the shoulder. I'm not reaching. As soon as I reach, I lose the ground. Even though this is 100% posture, there's, you're not going to float this foot. The shape is such that it's as close to 100% as you can get, but it's not classic 100% because of the shape that you're in. But you still want to have a connection to ground through the leg you're standing on and even in the empty back foot. As soon as I do this, it's pulling me away out of the ground. I need the ground to do the next move and bring my knee up. So make sure that your yearning is within your space, and it's not somewhere that's going to pull you away from ground. So let's do it again. Go. Turn directly to that wall and elongate. Spiral. Let it move through your body till it makes its way out to your hand and foot. Sit down more. Fingertips. Let the fingertips be the leading edge, and before you get split apart, let the right side go. And now you're nicely set up for what comes next. So take a break. I want to take a moment to talk about hips. So when you know, in the 70-30, the front leg of the 70-30, it's really easy, almost comfortable, to put a little bit of the hip out to the side. But see, when I do that, it puts the knee in. And it may feel like I've got more weight out there, but I need to bring it back in. Drop the sit bone so it's hanging down, not a little bit hitched up and pulled back. So stand here, and you can use your other hand to feel that your hip is in, and that keeps the whole alignment. It's really important on the back leg when you get into this place here. When I shift into it, it's easy to have a little bit out in the hip when you're trying to be 100% on this leg. And then when you go down, you're not going to be able to keep the knee tracking the toe, because when the hip goes this way, that makes the knee go that way. So go ahead and get it underneath you. Get it in a position that then it puts your thigh right down along that same line. When the hip is out, there'll be a little bit of an internal rotation on the thigh. So this is not easy. I'm always having to come back to this and work with it. I have, struggled with this quite a bit. So don't feel bad if it's happening, but do become aware of keeping this alignment here so that you don't hurt your knees, basically. Keeping this in is part of how you'll be able to get this to hold you without hurting your knees. Okay, and then the next thing we do is holding up, bringing up the knees. The next move, Pheasant stands on one leg and the other. I want you to go ahead and find the position by holding on to something. So we're going to do this where the right leg comes up. Just a little bit, just a little something to keep you from falling over. I'm not holding on and putting my weight on this, but just one finger can help. Get your hand underneath here and bring it up, and notice that if you pull it up from below like this, it's not going to affect the lower leg. It doesn't then turn this way or get the foot tense. It's just coming up this way, and you could be able to stand here and have the lower leg hang a little bit. Try and get that feeling. Now, I know that you may not get your leg this high when we do the form, but it's that feeling of something coming up from below to bring your leg up, as opposed to now try lifting your leg from the thigh and see what that does. Feel the difference. That pulling it up from the thigh, that's a lot more work in a way. What you really want to do is let the sit bone drop, the knee becomes buoyant, and then you're just going to coax it up. If this is as far as it goes, you're actually much better off than trying to haul it up. And people always resist this idea of touching something to keep your balance. But the beauty of it is that you're not worried about falling over. You've got something there helping you stay upright and stable. And so you can really explore the action in the leg. So, I encourage you to do that. So let's put it into the form. Okay, so notice what your hips are doing, what your feet are doing. Arms are comfortable. Everything's nice and open, and begin. elongate, and spiral. Give in, down to the ground, coming up the fingertips, releasing the right side. Now you're going to gather into your left leg and let the knee lead up. Let your left hand help you keep your balance. It's like in the opening posture. If you just hang it there, I'm going to fall over. There's a way that they balance each other. So take a break if you haven't already fallen over. And look at the feeling of how the move expands and contracts. We call this the bellows. And this segment is a really good place to see that. So let me face you once and talk about what I'm trying to convey. So, you get big and you get small. And you get big and you get small. And you get big. And that helps you bring it up. So that feeling of everything concentrating down into the ground and then using that to bring your knee up is going to really help make the move feel like something and less like you're just teetering there and pulling your leg up off the ground. So let's do it again. And go. Make sure you're going to go directly over the knee of that foot, over the toes with the knee. Turn, spiraling through the body, keeping the knee over there. Continue coming up the fingers. Right side, let's go. And now you're going to give in to bring the right side up. And when you land, you want it to be relaxed. Now, how high the knee comes is secondary to how the foot comes off the ground. So, play along with me here. Standing on one foot to the corner, the other foot is just on the ground, flat, and ahead of you a short distance. Turn your waist so that you're lined up with the foot you're standing on. There's a way that turning into your empty leg will help release it from the ground. So I want you to let your butt cheek go and turn toward your emptying leg and notice how it helps you get the heel off the ground. I don't even want you to pick the foot off the ground. You can see the ball is staying connected and just the heel floats, not because I lift it, but because you're rebalancing the shape. And by turning toward it, it frees the heel. The knee becomes buoyant, the sit bone drops, and you've got this nice empty leg that then the energy can come from underneath and bring up. So try this again. Face the foot you're standing on, that direction. As you turn, let that release the butt cheek, the hip joint, the sit bone, and the knee becomes buoyant and the heel floats off the ground. Now from here, you can just aim with your knee, and if it just comes off the ground this much, great. Little by little, you can coax it to come up higher. Ben Lowe used to make us knee touch elbow, not elbow touch knee. I don't care about the elbow and the knee. That's not the important thing, although that certainly made it hard to stand there and hold it while he was running around the room pushing everybody into a better posture. But the important thing about that is that they move. They're in this alignment, they're not in this alignment. And when the knee comes up, only let it come up as far as it goes straight up. Because as soon as I start thinking, oh, I got to get it higher, and I do this, yeah, well, you see what happened. That's not what we want. So just let it come right up along that vertical axis, and don't pull it anywhere that takes you away from all this good work that you're doing. Let's do it again. And go. Elongate and spiral. Coming up with the fingertips, release the right side, gather, and coming up. And let's do it again. Being aware of the bellows. So everything is big and small. Elongate makes it big. Coming down and spiraling brings it small. Coming into the yearning place is big. Gather, it gets small. And then it rises and gets big again at the final posture. Release your lower back. Let yourself really feel the ground. Make sure that everything is as open as you can get it. And rest your legs. So how's our time? I didn't pay any attention. I think we're there. I tend to forget to look at the clock. But let's do it one more time, and we'll call it a day. So everything nice and open. Think about all the stuff. Where's your leg, your feet, your lower back? And go. Okay, great. We'll work our way bit by bit till we get through this segment of the form. And so get those strong legs on, because this is one of those sections of the form that really works them.